They say betrayal never walks in wearing black, it walks in laughing like a friend. And tonight, that laughter sounded a lot like, "Hey, hi man. Finally, some backup." At first glance, it looked harmless. Just another reunion between old friends, a casual welcome back. But listen closer and something feels off. The tone, the pauses, the way, finally, man, hits like a nervous relief instead of excitement. Who exactly is Jonathan apologizing to? And why does Chloe's smile feel like a cover-up for something deeper? This isn't just a conversation. It's a crime scene built out of words. Every syllable in that moment hides tension. A tan line of guilt, a flinch of memory, a glance that lasts a second too long. If you've ever seen two people pretend everything's fine, when it's absolutely not, that's exactly what's unfolding here. But the real question is, who betrayed whom first? Because from what we're seeing, this isn't about friendship anymore. This is about damage control. Hi. Hey, Ken. How are you? Good. Nice to see you. Simple, right? But read between the lines. These aren't greetings, these are negotiations. Polite small talk is just camouflage when everyone in the room knows what happened. She says, "So happy to be here." Translation: "So happy to prove I can still stand next to you after what you did." Now here's where it flips. Chloe drops the line that changes everything. "I'm perfectly okay with Jonathan and Connor having a friendship. But once I found out that he had cheated, it kind of opened that door for me to view him differently." There it is. The confession. The keyword cheated. And from this moment, the air in the room turns cold. You can almost feel every heartbeat hesitate. Jonathan's eyes. They shift, not out of guilt, but calculation. Connor's reaction. Too calm. That's what betrayers do when they think they've regained control. They start performing normal. And you know what's wild? Every betrayal starts exactly like this, with someone saying they're fine. If you think this was just relationship drama, hold up. Because this friendship between Jonathan and Connor wasn't just emotional. There's a layer here that most people missed. Something darker, something strategic. And by the end of this video, you'll realize why Chloe's conversation might not just be about love, but about revenge. Let's pause for a second, because this is where things get psychological. Notice how Chloe says, "Connor's the one to create the perfect space to enable Johnny's bad behavior." Boom. That line right there, that's the forbidden truth most people refuse to say out loud. In betrayal, the accomplice is always worse than the cheater. The enabler doesn't just open the door, they decorate the room where betrayal happens. This is where power flips. Because once Chloe names the enabler, she takes back narrative control. The victim becomes the investigator. Now, let's get real for a moment. How many of you watching right now have been in Chloe's shoes? Someone lies, gets caught, and then blames the influence of friends. Drop it in the comments if you've ever seen someone act innocent, while their best friend plays puppet master. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe. Because this channel isn't about gossip, it's about patterns. The patterns that turn loyalty into lies and friendships into battlefields. Back to the scene. It looks like everyone's smiling again, right? Jonathan jokes, "It looked like you were in the sun, you're still a little tan." Everyone laughs. But that's not laughter. That's damage control through humor. Humor, in these moments, is camouflage for guilt. People use jokes as emotional smoke bombs, a way to change the subject without admitting what's really burning underneath. And notice how Chloe responds. "I no longer dislike you." That's not forgiveness. That's a warning disguised as grace. In betrayal language, that means you're on probation. The conversation gets playful. You better be nice, you better not. Everyone's laughing again. But every better not carries a weight. It's not flirting. It's threat management. When people joke like that after betrayal, they're not joking. They're testing boundaries, seeing how far they can go before someone snaps again. And here's the secret no one tells you: every betrayed person keeps a mental scoreboard. They may smile, they may say, "I'm over it." But deep down, they're watching every move, every micro-expression, every breath. That's what Chloe's doing. She's smiling with one eye, analyzing with the other. Want to know why betrayal always resurfaces? Because it's not just emotional, it's neurological. Studies show your brain stores betrayal memories next to fear responses. So even when you forgive, your body doesn't forget. That's why Jonathan flinches when Chloe laughs. That's why Connor keeps his tone low and casual. Their brains are fighting their own tells. Now the conversation takes a turn. Chloe says, "If you've seen me fight, this isn't me fighting. This is me conversating. Read that again. That's not casual. That's a warning disguised as diplomacy. It's the moment before thunder, she says. That's how you talk to people. Don't be intimidated. Scary? No, I stand on business. Boom. That's her drawing the line, publicly reclaiming her power. She's telling everyone in that room. You might have broken me privately, but I'm unbreakable publicly. Here's a thought. What if Chloe isn't the victim at all? What if she's already planning her revenge, quietly, strategically? Every calm, better not, could be a promise, not a peace treaty. And if you think that's far-fetched, wait until you see what happens next. Because the next part of this story exposes a mirror betrayal that flips everything you thought you knew about Chloe. Before we move on, I want to know what you think. Was Chloe genuinely forgiving here, or was she building a trap? Comment, TRIP, if you think she's plotting, or FRGYE, if you think she's done for real. I'll feature the most interesting theory in the next breakdown. The masks start to slip. We'll uncover how Jonathan and Kaner's friendship connects to a secret meeting Chloe doesn't know she was being recorded in. And we'll finally reveal why one offhand comment, "Don't start a fight right here," may be the trigger that exposes the real villain of this story. Stay right here is where the smiles fade and the knives come out. Every story about betrayal has a moment where laughter turns into silence. For Chloe, that moment begins with 5 little words. Don't try to start a fight. That's how every conflict hides itself, under the pretense of keeping the peace. But the truth, people only say, don't start a fight, when they know one's already happening. Notice the pattern. The tension isn't loud anymore, it's surgical. Jonathan leans back, pretending to relax, his voice softer now. That's not calmness, that's strategy. When liars sense they're losing narrative control, they lower their tone so you have to lean in. And when you lean in, you're listening instead of questioning. Meanwhile, Kaner's posture changes. He isn't defending anyone anymore, he's observing. Like a man checking the perimeter of a fire he secretly started. And Chloe. She's no longer reacting emotionally, she's calculating. It's the quiet before retribution. Here's the uncomfortable truth: betrayers aren't scared of being caught, they're scared of being understood. Because when you understand someone's pattern, you can predict their next move. And Chloe's starting to understand. If you've seen me fight, this isn't me fighting. This is me conversating. That sentence. It's a coded threat wrapped in charm. She's telling them, you've only seen the preview. You haven't seen the full episode yet. Think back to every time someone wronged you, smiled about it, and thought you didn't know. That sting in your chest. That's exactly what Chloe's feeling. But instead of exploding, she's weaponizing patience. And patience is how revenge gets its timing perfect. Now let's dig into something most people missed. Jonathan's apology earlier wasn't about guilt. It was about optics. He said, "Sorry, I'm a little late." On the surface, it's casual. But lateness is the language of dominance. It tells the room, my presence is the event. That's how manipulators rebuild power after getting caught. They frame themselves as indispensable. And when Chloe greets him warmly, she's testing that ego, not feeding it. When someone cheats, it's rarely about desire. It's about control. People crave the thrill of being unaccountable, of breaking the rules and still getting applause. That's what Jonathan's doing here. He's checking whether he can still charm the very person he betrayed. And Kaner, he's enabling it again. Because enablers need validation too. Watch how he keeps inserting tiny compliments. You look tan. You seem happy. That's not kindness, that's misdirection. Compliments are verbal smoke grenades. They distract you from asking, where were you last night? But Chloe doesn't bite. Instead, she smiles and says, I no longer dislike you. That's the genius of controlled anger. She grants forgiveness like a judge, not a lover. And that difference changes everything. Because forgiveness, when delivered from a position of power, becomes a mirror. It forces the guilty to see themselves. And some people can't survive that reflection. Let's zoom out. Every relationship inside this triangle, Jonathan, Kaner, Chloe, isn't about affection anymore, it's about reputation. And reputation warfare is colder than cheating itself. You can recover from heartbreak, but reputation scars don't fade. That's why Chloe keeps her tone balanced, her words sharp but measured. She's building her case publicly. And in the court of social perception, control is currency.